Welcome to another episode of the INH podcast show where we talk about geek culture news and lifestyle. I guess another episode, and this time around we are going to be talking about Gojira! So, obviously I've watched it a couple of weeks back or so. You've caught it recently. Yeah. So, we're here to talk about the actual film.
Yeah, what we think.
Yeah, and rate it as well, right? So, let's do a spoiler-free first, and then we'll talk about the movie a little bit more with a spoiler, just in case anyone hasn't caught it yet. I'm assuming most people have already watched it.
By this stage, it's been out for a while, but you never know.
It's
in the wake of other movies, which maybe some people would be more keen to see.
Cool.
What did you think of Godzilla 2014?
I thought it was definitely better than the 1998, 97, whatever it was.
The Roland Emmerich movie.
Oh, that was terrible because Godzilla actually looks like Godzilla. It is very much, I felt that it was like for the fans of Godzilla, opposed to a giant dinosaur running around laying eggs on the basement of a city and having little Tyrannosaurus Rex's looking creatures running around.
And for some reason they had the whole cast of The Simpsons in it as well.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with all of that. So, look, this one was definitely a lot better. I enjoyed it. I liked the battle scenes. I mean, that's what I realistically went to watch, right? Godzilla just doing his thing and destroying everything.
So I think that's a pretty strong recommendation from you, is it?
Yeah. Look, I really enjoyed it overall. There were parts that I did not enjoy, which we'll get into it once we talk about the spoiler version.
We'll save it for the in-depth discussion.
Cool. So what did you think?
I liked the movie as well. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel ripped off.
Okay.
I would recommend you see it. In fact, I definitely think this is the sort of movie you have to see at a cinema.
Okay.
To enjoy
I agree.
Godzilla. Did you watch yours in 3D?
I don't remember. I don't think I did. Or did I? No, I can't remember.
Well, so if you did, you don't really...
You don't need to watch it in 3D, is what I'm trying to sort of say, I guess. I mean, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. And I'll always go back to say that for 3D movies, I'll only watch a 3D film if it's
3D.
filmed for 3D. If it's not, you don't really need to.
Well, with that all out of the way, maybe we can get into the more spoilerific aspects of the film.
Yeah, look, I'm up for it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert, man.
Spoiler alert.
Cool. So,
first of all, one of the things that I had a big issue in this movie is the human characters, right?
I think everyone had the same issue.
So,
But anyways.
I'm not all that well versed in Godzilla movies, but I get the feeling that it's all about the guy in the rubber suit fighting monsters.
Yep,
And,
I agree.
and maybe the human characters are secondary.
Yep.
But the problem I had in this movie is that we really didn't have much of a reason to care about any of the characters.
No, I mean, the only one that I cared for is the Walter White. And
Bryan
I'm sorry,
Cranston.
but I'm sorry for calling him Walter White, but that's all I'm gonna know him as. I mean, before it was Malcolm in the Middle's Hal, the father,
yeah.
right? But now it's Walter White, so...
Well, here's the thing. When I watched the trailer, I thought that for sure Bryan Cranston was going to be the main character in the movie.
Yeah, right.
Because he's going to be the anchor. He's going to be the person that we see things from his point of view.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Like you said, watching the trailers and everything I know, it looked like he was going to be from the start all the way to the end.
And
he's
here's
going to be the
basically,
protagonist,
and
right?
he's going to tell you what's happening in the movie. He's going to tell you
Yeah.
how they discovered it and so on. But within the first act of the movie,
Yeah, he was...
written out.
Yeah, which... I was actually quite surprised. I didn't expect that to happen.
I was very surprised,
And-
although I will say that I was a bit spoiled with the opening credit sequence, which I really liked.
Right.
You know, they had the evolution, Darwin's, the theory of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really neat and very creative credit sequence. But in that credit sequence, it's listing the cast. It's Aaron Taylor Johnson. And then it goes to the secondary characters, it says, and Bryan Cranston.
See, I never thought of that.
You don't think about those sort of things?
I don't. I did not actually think about it at all. I never do.
I have this problem with a lot of TV.
That's a good.
With TV shows as well, when there's a special guest star, whoever, it always pulls me out of it a little bit.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll
but
need to keep my eye out.
Regardless, Bryan Cranston was the only character who... He was the only one we had a reason to care for, wasn't he?
He was. I mean, in the start of the story, you get his buy-in. You emotionally invest your feelings towards him, right? Obviously, his wife dies because of
for his research. He feels responsible for it.
So you feel bad for him, and then you see him from someone who knows his stuff to this person who's basically being kicked out.
Yeah, is he crazy? Is he
Crazy
paranoid?
sort of-
Is he
yeah.
getting arrested for trespassing and so on?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the other characters, well, Aaron Taylor Johnson is the main character in this movie.
Yes, and man, what a very flat character. Not his fault as
Not
as
his
the actor,
fault at all.
Not at all. But
No.
it's the way the character is written in. I did not care for him at all. I
He has-
really didn't.
He has a
I
very boyish voice, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of
Yeah,
weird. It was
yeah.
a bit off-putting.
It is, but
Well, he
Yeah.
had no personality whatsoever. There was that scene where he saves the kid.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why they wrote this into the movie. It didn't make me feel any better that he's the main character. It was the train scene where he was going to Honolulu to try to catch a flight to San Fran, I think.
Yeah.
It was on the train, and there's a little kid that jumped on, and he gave him
Gets
this little
separated from his
soldier.
parents, yeah.
And then he. I didn't understand what the whole
I guess
point
it's to
of,
make him more sympathetic. Like,
is that what it is?
Maybe,
Because
I don't know.
I didn't feel it. Like even after I felt like what was that whole scene in there for? I just did not feel anything for it. So yeah, really
It was
bizarre.
kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah, but besides from that, I mean,
Well, I guess the only other human character was that Ken Watanabe.
yes, right.
What did you think of his performance, or what did you think of him?
He always looked worried every single time. Like he's always like running and like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? You know, he's got that expression in his face, like so, he's always in shock. or
And the
something.
thing is, I guess once again, we never really had a reason to care for him. Really,
No, I didn't.
He just comes out of nowhere.
Mhm.
He's introduced as an expert in his field of like studying sounds and eco technology.
Patterns or whatever it is.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much all there is to it. And I guess he's the guy who tells us all the things about how, oh, these two monsters, it's a mating call. You know, one's the male, one's the female.
Yeah. Well,
And
that
he
didn't
com-
make sense to me.
He comes
either.
up with that line about how, you know, nature has a way of
Balancing itself or something like that?
Like, how could you know that?
I don't know.
That was a bit weird. I found it kind of strange.
Yeah, but look, enough about the human characters. I felt that all of them were quite flat, to be honest with you. But
You're there to watch Godzilla.
and that's exactly what it is, right? We're there to watch Godzilla fight other creatures or whatever it might be. Now, I didn't realize from watching the trailers that there were going to be other creatures in there, and I know Godzilla enough to know that he in the classics he fights other creatures like Gamera or Mothra.
The spinning turtle.
Yeah, spinning turtle thing, and Mothra, which is a moth flying.
Yeah, like a giant moth or something.
So what were these creatures? I don't even know. They're almost like a robotic. I don't know.
Well,
robot flying creature.
I don't
thing.
think they were robots. They were. They wanted nuclear power,
Right.
and there were two of them. They were. I don't know whether they are a tribute or a reference to old existing monsters.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. But look, I thought the scenes where they battled it out was really awesome.
Before we get to the battles, did you like the mating scene? There is a mating scene between the two. There's the Mutos. There's a mating scene, you know, where they get together. They're rubbing their heads together.
Ah, yes. I didn't think much of it at all.
I actually, it's
did
kind of
not-
weird.
I actually didn't think much of it at all whatsoever.
Well, the strength of this movie, and I guess the reason anyone is watching it, is to watch Godzilla. Now, to me, it got to a point where I was just waiting for him. I wasn't looking at my watch, but I was thinking to myself that, you know, he's
Come on,
coming
now,
out.
now.
And it took
Fight.
us a good, maybe 40 minutes before we actually see Godzilla?
It's about halfway through the film, right?
Yeah.
When he actually came out, I think. So, I mean, I guess you can't have the whole film just him fighting and destroying things.
Well, I can understand that you don't want to reveal, you don't want to show him straight away.
Yeah.
But with the lack of any human characters, with the lack of a solid storyline, in my opinion, I would have liked to see him there.
A little bit earlier.
Yeah.
but
But
look,
when he came on...
it was worth it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
did it,
I agree
he
with that.
executed it well. He's got the flame.
That was cool with the, you see the spikes light up there.
Has it always been that way?
Yeah, I believe so.
Like it lit, like his the spikes
The
light up.
dorsal fins or whatever.
Yeah, and then he blows fire or whatever it is.
Well, the action was cool. I mean, that last bit where he's...
Oh, that was the best! I didn't.
You know?
I was not expecting that. Where he freaking grabs the other creature, opens his mouth, and just goes.
That was cool. And
Breathe out.
then, you know, he pulls the head off. It's like Mortal Kombat. You know, he's holding it up.
Very
I feel-
cool. I thought
that was
was
really
awesome. Yeah.
It was kind of weird though, because I mean, at the end, they're calling him the King of Monsters. They're cheering him.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing. Last thing I wanted to raise up was the fact that Godzilla is nor good or evil. He's just a force of nature, you know, this Earth or countries or whatever, and if other creatures come into play, he just steps up saying, "Dude, this is my freaking town. Back off!" Right? That's basically what he does.
Oh, you
No
sound like
good,
Ken
no evil.
Watanabe's character now. You have this amazing insight into
No, but
Godzilla.
isn't that what it is? I don't know. I'm
I believe
guessing.
the original
I thought-
Godzilla is like that. It's supposed to be like that.
And by the end of this film, everyone's like, yeah, the whole film made me feel like he's supposed to be a good guy, and I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I think the non-Japanese audience probably came out going, "Hey, Godzilla's a good character," you know? Where it's like, dude, I think you got it all wrong.
Well, at
He's
the end,
just a force of freaking nature.
At the end, they're cheering him, they're clapping him, they're like they're buddies, you know, like
Yeah,
he's
it's
Earth's
weird.
defender.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I assume that not good or evil at all. He just does whatever he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. I think the old movies, the charm of seeing a guy in a suit is lost in this movie because it's all CG,
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
It looks good. I think the special effects were
Yeah.
very clean.
Was definitely.
It's believable.
Yeah. How many out of 5? What would you give it?
I'd probably give it a solid 3. I don't think I could
Right.
give it any more
Okay.
because it's just
So
watching
it was-
monsters fighting.
Okay, so for me, I would give it a 3. And the only reason is because the human characters. I just did not enjoy it, and I felt that when they showed that, it dragged out quite a bit, and I just wanted to see Godzilla fight. That's it. But when he did, it was freaking awesome.
Well, how does this compare to something like Pacific Rim, the other kaiju movie of
I
recent
like
history?
the action scenes in this a lot better than Pacific Rim. Pacific
Really?
Rim, yeah. I wasn't a fan of Pacific Rim, so.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I'm a big fan of Pacific Rim. I think it showed that you could make a good movie and have very little investment in the human characters.
Nah.
I just like giant robots.
That's fair. Anyways, let us know what you think. Comment on the bottom of the blog, and thanks for sticking it out with us. But I guess, yeah, we'll see you next time then.
See you next time.
Adios.